Oh. All right, folks, here we are. Welcome in. Glad to have you. We are doing something real silly today. On my Twitch stream, there are channel points you can accrue. Just for hanging out, you get to earn these channel points. Just watching the stream for however many hours, you know, you get channel points over time. And so Mao Mei, actually, the user and wife unit of the channel, redeemed 50,000 channel points to make me build a deck based around Bones Tribal. So we are trying to build a deck around cards using the word bone, right? So Bone Shards, Gutterbones, Bonecrusher Giant, Blood for Bones, Bone Picker. And we were trying to get a bunch of different kind of builds to work. I had a relatively aggressive deck with a little bit of graveyard synergies and stuff with the Gutterbones and stuff, but it wasn't enough, right? It wasn't enough. So rather than going with just Bone Picker, Bonecrusher Giant, Bone Shards, Gutterbones stuff, because the Bone Shards ended up being typically pretty bad there because we didn't have a lot of extra cards, so it was kind of not great. So we ended up having to do other things. It just didn't play at all like we were playing around bone stuff, right? So this deck is a little more conventional, I think. You know, it's got some conventional reanimator stuff going on. We're trying to do it the fun way. We do have a Serra's Emissary, but just one. We do have an Ulamog, but just one. The rest of it is all fun stuff. You know, we've got the Elishnorn, we've got a Sheoldred, we've got Toxrill, we've got Vilis. Trying to have a good time with our reanimator package. And to support that, we've got a couple of Unburial Rites. But the main reason we're doing the Unburial, or the Reanimator theme here, is to support our Blood for Bones. One thing Gutterbones does well is be expendable. It can just die and come back, and die and come back, and die and come back. So being able to do that means we can discard it to Bone Shards. We can even discard it to Faithless Looting. We'll get to that in a minute. And then we can also sacrifice it to Blood for Bones to be able to reanimate our big fatties onto the battlefield and then get things back, right? So the Faithless Looting and Stitcher Supplier here to support that package as well, doing a little discarding and drawing, doing a little milling over, right? To try and get wins here. Folks, is this the most optimized version of a Mardu Reanimator deck we could think of? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is built because, darn it, I'm trying to reward our Twitch users for hanging out in the stream. It is always a blast. I know some number of people will probably look at this and go, well, that's just kind of a bad reanimator deck. Maybe some of that's true. But this also does have a little bit of a tempo plan, and we're going to try and take advantage of that. So without further ado, let's get to the games. All right, folks, here we are up against Mashalj. And opponent goes with Inquisition of Kozilek turn 1. We're going to go ahead and keep this, obviously. Opponent takes our Stitcher Supplier. We're just going to say, okay. If they want to bin a bunch of Stitcher Suppliers and stuff, that's, you know, a fine thing to do. These cards really don't do a ton, so. Just in here for their milling things. But we are now up to our 4th land, so let's start doing some of that. You find some prisoners. Opponent exiles 2 Blood Bones. Come on, folks. Come on. All right. That's okay, folks. We have 2 more Blood for Bones in the deck. We have 2 Unburial Rites as well. We now have Faithless Looting the bin to be able to find them, hopefully. So we're going to go do that. Start with an attack. Okay. Oh, darn it. Wanted to grab this one, but grabbed the wrong land. That's okay. It costs a couple of life, but... Okay, Serra. Sure. Gutterbones. And... Haunted Ridge, I think. And we can return the Gutterbones to our hand next turn if they just keep letting the Stitcher Supplier get in. So we'll see. Opponent currently deciding what to do with the Stitch Supplier. And they draw a card. Thinking about things. Trying to decide. Shocks and Blood Crypt. What does that mean? Oh, it's Gonti. Okay. Ah, okay, so they're just trying to play our deck. I see. Sure. Well, that's fair. That is an entirely reasonable thing to be doing. So I guess let's go ahead, cycle a Savai Triome. Draw another Savai Triome. Okay, well, fine. And just get down to Gutterbones, I suppose. No attacks. No need. We would like to get another Faithless Looting here. I think that would be great. Okay, well, we are going to block. 100%. Opponent uses Obnixilus's Cruelty and exiles it. If they were going to do that, I don't know why they didn't do that before. Because now we just, you know, don't take the extra damage. Okay. Savai Triome. Doing its thing. Gutterbones, come on back. We would like to have some expendable creatures around for our Blood for Bones plan and stuff. Admittedly, we did lose half of the Blood for Bones in our deck when our opponent went for the You Find Some Prisoners. So, you know, it is what it is. All right. Let's attack, see what happens. See what happens. Well, it's apparently on Grixis. We thought they were on Rakdos, but apparently it's Grixis. Well, not looking in our bin. Decides to block. And okay. Damage. They definitely have an instant of some sort. Stomp. Well, then let's Gutterbones, Bone Picker, and pass. Our opponent doing a lot of hovering the card that they got from our hand. They end up using a cast down on our Bone Picker. Tome of the Infinite gets activated. Obviously not sure what they get. There are a whole bunch of really, really good cards in here. But, you know, they are all 1-mana cards, so we'll see. Okay, well, combat. We attack for 2. Opponent takes it. Well, we're going to add a Gutterbones to hand then. Our opponent seems to really want to be grinding here. So these things are fine. And we're going to cast a Bonecrusher Giant. Pass the turn right on back. Alright, Obnixilus's Cruelty. Go and deal 2 damage to our opponent. And exile our Bonecrusher. Okay. Yep. Opponent takes a card for the turn. Opponent Pillar of Fires to exile our Gutterbones. Inconvenient. We did want to keep that trainer rolling. I mean, we're not far from Elishnorn or Toxrill, so this is definitely a thing where we can potentially get some advantage here. Opponent going to go and dig, see if they can get a Force Spike effect or something. So in order to avoid dying to, or losing our Bonecrusher Giant 4/3 to a Force Spike, we're going to go ahead and cast that. If they want to Force Spike our Gutterbones, okay, fine. But there's plenty of other cards they could have gotten besides Force Spike, obviously. This has 10 possible options. Swords to Plowshares. Lightning Bolt would be good here. Even the Fog wouldn't be bad. All right, the opponent has our Unburial Rites. Okay. All right. That was the card they kept looking at. They get, of course, another luck with Gonti now, which is not great. I'm not thrilled about that, but it is what it is. Sure. Dark Ritual. Oh, boy. For Blood Chief's Thirst. And Bone Picker. Okay, sure. That's our card, darn it. You betrayer. Hey. Yeah, well, we're going to do this. Get our Bone Picker back. Shrink Gonti. Get in with Bonecrusher Giant. Yep. Opponent staring down 9 life and 10 damage. Tome of the Infinite gets activated. Swords to Plowshares. Come on, man. Had to be the one that exiles our stuff. Couldn't be just, like, destroying our stuff. No, had to exile. Okay. Has another STP? Golly. That's easily the best card from Tome of the Infinite. Like, not even close, actually. For our opponent, I should say. You know, there are plenty of matchups where maybe you want the Lightning Bolt. Just try and finish the job or whatever, you know? But for our opponent, it's easily the best card. That said, we're going to go ahead, Bonecrusher Giant. Get a Bonecrusher Giant back. Get a Bone Picker back. And folks, this is also representing lethal, right? Like the Toxrill would have. But if our opponent gets really lucky and just pulls another Swords to Plowshares or something, this is across multiple bodies. It, you know, it puts more pressure on them. There are other cards they can get here. You know, they can, believe it or not. Holy crud. Holy crud. You gotta be kidding me. This is nonsense. Oh my gosh. Okay. And the Robber of the Rich. Okay. Alright, Toxrill. We're not actually going to trade because we want our Bonecrusher or Bone Picker to survive here. Alright, Tome of the Infinite. Been really, really good to our opponent. Just honestly could not have been better, I don't think. I can't even envision a scenario where they want anything other than what they've gotten so far. Because even the Dark Ritual was very, very good. Allowed them to multi-spell. But now they are facing down lethal again. Okay. I mean, we're going to block. Actually, no, that was a mistake, wasn't it? Because the Bone Picker now gets cheaper. So I guess if they have another removal spell... See, I was just thinking we would be able to attack through everything because they're going to be down to 1 mana now. But, admittedly, yeah, that might not have been great. Because they could have a burn spell, right? An instant speed burn spell. A lightning bolt would kill the Bone Picker. The Bone Picker trades with the Toxrill. Okay, Light of Hope? Okay, sure. Yeah. Yeah, this much, honestly, is fine. We could hardcast the Vilis, but I think we would much rather just make it so Gutterbones and a slug are lethal. Either one of these slugs, right? Obviously, the Toxrill is lethal. The Bone Picker is lethal, all on its own, right? We just got a whole bunch of different combinations of cards that are lethal here. And yeah, okay. Macalage. Scooping them up. Yay! We did it! We did it. GG. GG. Alright, folks. I'm on a Marth. Sand is bad. But I think we're going to keep it anyway. This hand does at least give us the opening to have an early-ish Bone Picker. It also has all of our colors of mana, so there are plenty of things we can draw. Okay, Fervent Champion getting in early. Okay, sure. Well, fine. Then we're going to go ahead, Savai Triome tapped. Fast turn. See what our opponent does. Oh, they're on Knights. Okay, sure. Sure. So let's stomp the Inspiring Veteran. Bone Picker. Pass. And opponent has a Thalia's Lieutenant. That's not a knight, that's a human. That's definitely not expected, but okay, sure. We take our beats. And sure. We need to find our stuff. We do not find our stuff. Okay, well. Bone Shards, discard a card. We're going to get rid of that Fervent Champion. And I think we are going to try and put them in an awkward situation where we're racing a little bit, because we can at least jam a Bonecrusher Giant next turn. Hey, they scoop it up. I mean, I guess that counts, folks. Taste it. How do you like them apples, huh? GG. All right, folks, here we are up against Renaissance. Good luck, Renaissance. And I mean, I guess we're going to hang on to this. We've got the Faithless Looting and Stitch Supplier here and stuff, so... we're going to start on the Haunted Ridge, I think, because then we can Faithless Looting and Stitch Supplier on the same turn next turn. But we would not be able to Faithless Looting next turn if we don't start with the Haunted Ridge, right? So, fine. Let's start with Stitcher Supplier so that we know what goes into our graveyard, and that will inform the cards we want to keep. Okay. This was just abysmal. Ooh, I cannot envision things getting much worse than that one was. But okay. Feels bad, man. We do at least have a Vilis in the graveyard. So if we can get to some reanimation stuff, we can do that. Karn's Bastion, eh? Okay. Well, let's attack, I suppose. Opponent takes the damage, or opponent blocks the damage. This is what we expected. Bonecrusher Giant going to kill an Arboreal Grazer, which will allow us to Bone Picker for a single mana. And, of course, we want to do it that way because we're pretty sure our opponent wasn't just going to take the damage with very expendable Arboreal Grazers on the battlefield. But we were expecting a Nissa this turn. So the more reach creatures that are in play, the harder it will be to pressure Nissa if we need to. Our opponent, of course, going to get in with a land. Do we trade? I think we do, because they could potentially have all your stuff gets indestructible sorts of effects, you know? And as long as we kill the Nissa, which we plan to this turn... Hey, that's a good one. Okay, yeah, alright. Sacrifice creature. They are down mana now, right? Okay, those were not great mills, but we don't need to mill a lot of stuff because we do have the Faithless Looting already there. Faithless Looting can discard the Unburial Rites to ensure we cast it next turn. Actually, we can't cast it next turn unless we have a white source. So let's just go with the Bonecrusher Giant, I suppose. It also ensures us against if the fact, you know, they could have a land drop and then another Nissa, which might explain them being a little cavalier with it. Okay. It's not. It's Karn. Sure. Opponent goes to sideboard. Goes a-diggin', as they say. And Grafdigger's Cage. Come on, man. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, now you show up. Now you show up! No! This is infuriating. Yep. Sure. I mean, there's no real reason to keep the Unburial Rites around, because we can't cast it next turn no matter what happens anyway. So just them having a Karn is bad. They get to take down and get another Silver Bullet out of the side that messes us up. We don't have a way of getting rid of that. So we now have to hard cast our way to victory here. Now the white mana shows... Oh. That feels bad, folks. That feels bad. But we do have a 4-3 in play. We're going to hang on to our white mana because it's a bluff, right? If we keep drawing lands, then we got to bluff. If we don't draw more lands, well, then we just make a land drop, right? Opponent puts counter on Blast Zone. Better than doing nothing, I suppose. And Biogenic Ooze comes down, makes a dude, puts counters on both of them. We draw... Okay. I'll play it out. I'll play it out. I think our opponent should just trade, yeah, Ooze for Bonecrusher. Yeah. Okay. It does happen. Well, we're going to get a white land into play, just in case. We could draw several straight white lands into Elesh Norn or Serra's Emissary or something. Oh, folks, come on, man. This one was right down to the wire. I wonder if I could have played that differently, in a way that would have led to victory. You know, I am really not sure. Our turn. That's not gonna do it. All right, you got us, Renaissance. You got us. GG. GG. All right, folks, we are back. We are back, and good lord. What did we learn about this deck? That it's bad. Do not do this at home. Unless someone is forcing you to do this, do not build the deck this way. The optimizations are obvious. If you choose to go for the reanimation package, you know, more reanimation, less nonsense, right? If you did want to try and build the other version of the deck, like I was talking about in the initial build, you're going to want to be somewhere with these cards. Gutterbones, Bonecrusher Giant, Bone Picker. Now, like I say, we did leave out a few other bone cards, right, that would go there. Specifically, Bone Splitter. And, you know, I think this card is actually underplayed in the format. I think it should see play in some number of decks. It just doesn't, because I think largely because a lot of players don't know it exists. But I think if you had these cards, that would go a long way. And as far as additional expendable creatures with bone in the name, that's pretty much it. Which is why we had to kind of fill in around, and it felt very not, you know, built around bones at that, you know, when we ended up with that deck list. You know, whichever direction you go. More aggressive, less aggressive. I did consider doing something like this. So we would have a few of the discard, you know, creatures that discard to get us some tiny bones mileage, but also taking advantage of the Bone Splitter and the relatively aggressive package here. The problem is Bone Picker gets much worse if we don't have enough kind of removal spells to go with it. So, you know, there's that too. I don't know. It was a really tough stipulation. Mama May really, you know, made things challenging to build around, but you know, it was fun. We had a good time. I would not recommend building it though, because holy crud, it's pretty rough. But I suppose if you are thinking, man, I would like to do my best to make someone's life miserable for a few hours, you too can force me to build a deck stipulation of your choice. You just come out to the stream, hang out for a while, and build up those channel points, and then cash them in. And I will either play it on stream in front of you there. Well, you know, I'll build it off of stream and then come back and on another stream and play it in front of you, or I'll make a YouTube video out of it, right? And it's up to you on either one. So we can do those things for you folks if you hang out in our Twitch stream enough. On that note, we are moving towards partner, and I appreciate everybody who supported us in that way. It has been, you know, kind of a long journey, I bet. We've been at this for years now, but honestly, I have been having a blast. So I really appreciate all that support, and I appreciate everybody who chooses to come over and help us there that way as well. So thank you to all of you wonderful folks, and I will catch you all next time.